let's move on to club football. Premier League 2016 review. First of all, I'm going to start off with West Ham, who could have finished so strongly, but in the end, flopped.
Doesn't even matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, you see, we had such a good season. We thought to ourselves, Leicester, they've got all the coverage for this year. Let's just give them a bit more limelight by not finishing well. That's what we thought. So, we went from being unbeaten for a good month and a half to losing 4-1 to Swansea. I have to say that the week between the 7th of May and the 15th of May was the most mixed emotions I've ever had in a football season in my life. So, of course, first of all, losing 4-1 to Swansea, I was very distraught with the result and the performance because I thought it dampened our form, and I was like, oh no, we've got to play Man United next in a game that could be season-defining. And then we beat Man United 3-2, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, yes, we can do this. And then we go and screw up to the least informed team in the Premier League, Stoke, barring Aston Villa, of course. We go and screw up against Stoke, and then we've gone from a season where we've been in the top 6 for basically the entire year, and we finished 7th, 2 points in front of Liverpool, who have had a terrible year. So our amazing season has just been dampened, and I'm not happy. But, I'm looking at it now, and it's absolutely ridiculous. 14 draws, and we're in the top 7, and we had 8 losses the entire year. If the league was done based on losses, we'd be in the top 4.
I think if you base it on the fact of if we quickly talk about it sometime in the future, or if I say future, next 10 minutes or so, if West Ham, if they ever highlighted they need a player, I think a goal-scoring striker is what they need, because it seems if you had a striker that could have killed off these games, top 4, done.
Yeah, well, it's something that sort of went under my nose, but under the radar throughout the season. The fact that we didn't actually really have a goal scorer up front. We had Dimi Payet, who was just putting everything on a plate for all the other players in the squad. Now, if we didn't have Payet this season, I think it would have been a very different story throughout the whole season. Yeah. I still think we would have done well, but I don't think we would have been top 4 contenders, I guess you could say, throughout points of the season. The fact that when Payet was injured, we drew 2 or 3 games 0-0 in a row, and then we also drew about 6 on the bounce as well, of 1-alls and things like that. I think it showed not a lack of creativity, but a lack of goal-scoring abilities. And having watched West Ham in all our most recent live games, a lot of our players, i.e. Enner Valencia and Diafra Sakho, Emenike, cannot hit a barn door. They were, quite frankly, awful. Now, Sakho was the best of them all, but he has been injured for half the year and couldn't really find the goals he needed. Andy Carroll has not got the ability to start a match because he is simply an impact sub as far as I'm concerned. And then Enner Valencia is probably the worst striker I think I've ever seen. Against, was it Man United? Yeah, Man United in the FA Cup. He had 2 really pretty simple chances that he just put straight at a world-class keeper in De Gea.
Yeah. That's
so, I'm not going to go into it because I could literally talk about this for the next 7 hours.
Well, it's worth noting that your top 3 goal scorers, of course, in all competitions, first of all, Payet. Doubted that was ever going to be, different. Rumour has it that I think 250% of them were free kicks. And we've got Mikel Antonio, who's second, which is worth mentioning.
Part-time right back.
Part-time right back. Part-time. You look at the fact if you judge the fact he's played where you've played him, because he played in striker for Nottingham Forest, he played in wing for Forest, at Reading, and also at Sheffield Wednesday. If you count wing as his natural position, he's played there for half the season because he missed the first 14 at least game weeks, and he played at least half the ones he played, well, at least a third, I'd say, in right back. So to score 11 goals, that's not that bad at all. Worth noting for the England team, although you need experience, tell that to Marcus Rashford. And third is Andy Carroll, with 9 goals, who was an impact sub throughout most of it, injured throughout most of it. Again, worth noting, because if you've got an impact sub that can be an impact sub, Roy Hodgson, take note.
Yeah. Well, let's not get back into the England squad again. But yeah, I mean, I think that there are a lot of teams that have done very well this year. Southampton, another team that has done very well this year, and they've not been credited for their recent. I mean, their recent form is they've won their last 4 games, including games against Manchester City and Tottenham.
Yeah.
And they also beat Liverpool within this sort of last 10 games. But, Southampton had a really crap start to the season. They just sort of snuck up on everyone, and they've ended up finishing 3 points off Man United in 6th.
Yeah.
Of course, without a doubt, Leicester have been a very good team.
I was going to run over a few teams quickly. First of all, ending off the season with the worst form, only 1 point in their last 10, Aston Villa.
Woo!
I think in the end it just shows when people say you can buy the league. Aston Villa spent £50 million on various players and finished last. Reason being, they did what Newcastle did and bought loads of French players that are unproven. And talking about Newcastle, they also had a crap season. Considering the last 6 games of their season, they were unbeaten. 3 wins, 3 draws. And they still didn't survive because Sunderland's last 3 games were also unbeaten, 3 wins and 3 draws. And you put that down to the fact, if they'd have just won against Aston Villa, they still would have been out by goal difference. So, unfortunately, Newcastle fans, that's not what mattered. But I think Newcastle, will they? Let's judge it. Newcastle, will they bounce straight back up? How will they do next season?
I want to say they're not going to bounce straight back up, but I've got that horrible feeling that they will, because they are. I'm not going to say a big club because they're not a big club, and I'm not feeding the Newcastle fans' egos. But they are a bigger club, and they do deserve to be in the Premier League. But they really need to get some stability in the backroom staff. They need to get a better manager, because I'm sorry, Rafa Benitez is not cut out for the Championship. Yeah. And they really need to look at some proper, Premier League players. I mean, Newcastle's best player this year, I would say, is probably Giorgio Wijnaldum. And he had no experience in the Premier League before that. But then they've gone out in January and thought, right, we need some good Premier League players. I know, let's go spend 12 million on Andros Townsend and 10 million on John Joe Shelvey. West Ham paid 10 million for Dimitri Payet. What the hell were you thinking?
Panic buy.
I'm sorry, Newcastle and your fans, you deserve to go down this year. You cannot deny it. You've been absolutely diabolical all season. You've kept McLaren until bloody March and thought, I know, let's just bring in Rafa Benitez now to save our season. He's not going to save your season. The problem is with all these really so-called fantastic managers is they're given their squads. Would Real Madrid really be anything without all their good players? No, they wouldn't. It's like any team, any good manager. Mourinho this year, with Chelsea, for example, he's got all these quality players. They've just won the league. And they were awful. And it shows that a manager of his so-called standard, he goes into a club and the team's not performing well. He can't turn them around. He can't change their fortunes. Chelsea still finished bloody 10th. Yeah. Not all managers are gifted to work with a struggling team. You need... Unfortunately, I'm going to say it. You need your Sam Allardyce to save a dying team. That is the reason Sunderland survived, because they made their change early. And in November, when they were, I can't remember if they were bottom of the table, if Villa were at this point. I think it was still Villa.
Yeah,
but they were
bottom for a long time.
They were down there, and Sunderland bring in the right man for the job, and they're safe. They've got another year in the Premier League.
I think the way you need to look at the managers that maybe don't play the best of football. I mean, people are saying, oh, no, Rafa Benitez was at Newcastle, doesn't deserve to be at Rafa Benitez was at Real Madrid at the start of the season, and up until later or a few months before he joined Newcastle, doesn't deserve to be at Newcastle. Fans were saying, yet we forget he was gobshite awful at Real Madrid and got sacked about 6 months into it.
Yep.
We're forgetting that, and the fact that players were considering leaving because of him. He wasn't the best of managers at Real Madrid. Granted, I think he did do a good job with Newcastle, considering the way the team was. And I think the fact that you got to look at it and think the fact that he had to work with Jamal Lascelles as his leading centre-back. Tim Krul was out injured, Rob Elliott was out injured. I think in the end...
That was a big part of the season, that injury to Tim Krul early on.
I think that's happened for the last few seasons now, Tim Krul getting an injury for half the season.
Yeah.
I know he did it last season because he was my bloody keeper for Fantasy Premier League. But we spent a lot of time talking about Newcastle. Quick few words. Aston Villa, will they bounce straight back up?
No, I think Aston Villa are either going to do a Blackburn or a Blackpool. By that I mean a Blackburn is they'll be stuck down in the Championship and they'll stay down there. Or they'll do a Blackpool where they're going to end up, Blackpool now going into League 2 this year.
Yeah.
They are a bigger club, of course, Aston Villa, so they're probably going to end up being a bit more like Middlesbrough. They'll be in the Championship for about 10 years or so. They might pop back up, but I just don't think they've got the stability back there to bring themselves back up.
I think, but as much as they could do a Blackpool, I think it's worth noting Blackpool massively, massively overachieved to get to the Premier League.
Yeah.
And they could have got there again, apart from Carlton Cole, Vaz.
Oh my god, yeah.
But anyway,
I've watched that video so many times.
I saw loads of people share it on Twitter the other day because it was like 10 or how many years to the day. I can't remember how many years it was. I don't think it was 10 years actually saying that. But
you
Norwich,
look at it, it's like West Ham finish, 7th now, and Blackpool are in League 2. How things have changed.
But a quick few words on Norwich. Will they bounce straight back up? Because I think out of the three, they possibly could.
Out of the three that have gone down, Norwich have by far the team that's more suited for Championship football.
Yeah, a lot of grafters, a lot of Championship level players rather than a lot of foreign players.
Without that being like a dig at the Norwich squad, but they have got a lot of, not Championship players as such, but players that have played in the Championship, they've been there, they know how to get back out. So Norwich are the most prepared team out of the three that are going down. They're probably also playing a lot less on wages, especially than the likes of Newcastle. So you've also got to bear that in mind with relegation, because of course QPR have had their issues over the past few years with wages.
Yeah.
So, I think that it will be interesting, but Norwich have by far got the better team for the Championship.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And to go over a few teams, maybe just to quickly mention Bournemouth. We've spoken about Sunderland. We'll go to Bournemouth. I think they've had a pretty good season, personally.
Bournemouth have had a very good year, considering their key striker got injured within the first few months and hasn't played since.
I think even with their key striker and Tyrone Mings got injured, a lot of players got injured early on. I think even with those big players, people were still saying, and me likewise, Bournemouth will go down. And they didn't, and they've really surpassed expectations.
Well, I think out of everyone, I think I'm the only one that's actually stuck by my guns from the start of the season, and I said that Bournemouth would stay up.
Yeah.
Because Bournemouth have got that Blackpool mentality. They're not a huge club. I mean, only a few years ago, I remember them being in League 2. But they're not a huge club. They've come up through the ranks. They might stay in the Premier League for a year or two, and then they might go back down again. But the difference is the money.
Swansea did.
The money, yeah. The money now in the Premier League is going to make a huge difference and can probably stop that from happening to them. They might, become a decent Championship club and so on and so forth.
Yeah. I think regarding the money, we'll talk about that about a certain game in the next few minutes. But quick few words on a few other teams. Chelsea, if ever you talk about the typical a game of two halves, you could switch that into a season of two halves, and I think it's definitely been that for Chelsea.
You could say that, but I'd say they had an awful start to the season, which everyone can see, but I still don't think they were that great in the second half of the season either. There was improvements, but they've still finished 16 points away from the top four.
Yeah.
20 points away from the top three. That is not good enough at all. The fact that they're closer to the relegation zone than the top five is appalling
Yeah.
for a team that has just won the league. I was very happy that Chelsea did bad this year because I just thought it was quite funny. But you know, I think that they're bringing in this Conte manager. Not sure what he's going to be like, but for their sake, they have to hope he's a lot better. They're going to go out this summer, spend 200, 300 million. So, you know,
Most probably, like most other teams are going to do this season.
yeah. Well, you know, Leicester have won the league, so Leicester have killed English football because Arsenal, Tottenham, City, United, Liverpool, Chelsea, they're all just going to spend 200 odd million. Even the likes of West Ham are spending a lot of money this year. So I'm not saying that we're not one of them teams.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
I think we've made it very clear how much money we've got to spend.
Bids for Vardy, bids for Lacazette.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think we've judged every interesting team in the
Everton.
league. I suppose you're underperforming Everton. I'll let you talk about them because I know it's a club close to your heart.
Yeah. Punched the desk. That's how angry I got. I'm very sad to see Roberto Martinez leave. I was a fan of him until this year. But, you know, Everton have had a very poor season, and I think that they're not going to be challenging for the top six for a few years. This could be me thinking that they're, you know, that there's some other teams now that have got a lot better players. The likes of Stoke have Shaqiri, but this is, you know, nevertheless, Everton will end up losing this season. The likes of Lukaku, they've also got an ageing squad. You know, no Tim Howard, you know, for the first year, and they finished 11th.
I think the problem they could have is the Aston Villa effect, because Aston Villa lost Given, who was experienced at the goal. They've lost a big striker in Benteke. Everton are going to lose Lukaku. I think Stones is probably going to go as well. They're in danger of losing their whole spine, which is the demise of which Aston Villa suffered.
Well, the thing is with Everton is they started losing the spine as soon as they sold Fellaini.
Yeah.
Everton could even lose the likes of James McCarthy, who's been their Fellaini replacement as such without the height. They could lose Seamus Coleman. They have got an ageing squad as well. I mean, Jagielka, their sort of best centre back over the past few years, he's not getting any younger.
Yeah.
You've got and then you couldn't even name their other centre back really, because if John Stones goes, you've got Funes Mori, who has been okay, but you know he's not exactly a Premier League centre back as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So I think it's troubling times for Everton at the moment. If they sell all their players and don't bring in the right players to replace it, they can go one of two ways. They'll either Aston Villa it or they'll Southampton it.
Yeah. I think they're going to sell too many players to Southampton. I think they could be perilously close to the relegation zone. I think rumours are that they've tried to talk to Pellegrini, which I think would see him go down, because I really can't stand Pellegrini.
He's not an inspiring manager.
Pellegrini, the only reason he's done a good job for Man City is because he's had top quality players. Without those players, he's flopped, and we've seen that in the last few years. Without Aguero being there, without De Bruyne being there, their performances have been not as good. Put him in a squad with Everton where he has to play well with minimal sort of players and not as many good players. I think we'll see Everton go down personally.
So I would like to say something on that. I think Everton need a passionate manager. I'm actually available, by the way, if you're listening. But you need a passionate manager. You look at West Ham and you look at Liverpool. Okay, they've got Slaven Bilic and Jurgen Klopp, probably two of the most passionate managers I've seen. Now, West Ham finished 7th, you know, after having a year of contesting around about the top 6. And then Liverpool had quite frankly, a poor start to the season. They sacked Brook Rodgers. They bring in Jurgen Klopp, who of course is a proven good manager, even though he can't win a major final. But he has changed that Liverpool team, and he's turned them into what you could even consider as, you know, top sort of 5 contender as such. Only 6 points off by the end of the season. You say, you know, if they'd beaten Swansea and they'd beaten Southampton, it could have been a different story. They could have been in the top 5, or even top 4, because I just realised that Man City are on 66 points.
Yeah.
So, you know, overall, you've got to look at maybe a more passionate manager than what they have had, which is Roberto Martinez's boring style of football.
No,
which is a dying style of football as well.
Yeah. I'd say that. And before we move on to a quick preview of the next season, and also a massive, massive game. I'm not saying this biasly, but the biggest playoff final in the Championship there has been for some time. I'm going to do a quick, sort of talk with you about Manager of the Year. And there's a few in here that I think deserve a good mention. First of all, we've got Ranieri of Leicester, led them to the title, obvious front runner. I think there's others in there. Second of all, we've got Bilic, who I think him and the next manager I'm going to announce would have got in there with a stronger sort of, I think they would have had a stronger vote from me, but they flopped at the end. I think Leicester, the fact they didn't flop, I think that leans towards Ranieri. So Bilic is in there for Manager of the Year for me. As well as that, we've got Pochettino, and of course Spurs had a wonderfully good end to the season. I joke. They had a disgusting, almost as disgusting as Mitrovic's tackling, I should add, which was horrific. But Pochettino obviously deserves a mention. Had a good season for Tottenham. And then we've got Sam Allardyce. I think people are overlooking him for that where he picked up Sunderland and where he took them and how he made them survive. I think it's definitely worth a mention. Then we've got Ronald Koeman, or Koeman, or however you say it. Again, Southampton, it's been another season where, Schneiderlin's gone, this player's gone, that player's gone. Now we're going to see if they can actually be, a good team. And once again, Southampton's been a good team. Every time they've hired managers, for example, when Atkins left, they've brought in Pochettino. Every manager they've brought in has done well. Every player that they've sold, their replacement has done well. I think credit Southampton in general. So Koeman definitely deserves a mention. In fact, he got sixth as well, snuck in there. Really good season. And lastly, Eddie Howe. I think against all the odds and the fact you've got a championship team playing Premier League football next season, I think that definitely deserves a mention as well. But who would you would say stands out the most?
Well, of course, Ranieri. I can't take it away from him. His boring football, his bullies at centre back, and his pace abuse, as if he's playing FIFA.
Show, I might like to add.
Yep, we hate bullies. And his pace abuse, like he was playing FIFA 14 and he's the reigning champion, was, but undoubtedly the best thing in the Premier League this season, unfortunately. Of course, Riyad Mahrez is whatever he does as well. But I would actually put my second best manager as Eddie Howe, because I think he's done a spectacular job at Bournemouth this year. And I would put Koeman as third. Bilic wouldn't make my top three. I'd put him fourth.
I think he would have if he wouldn't have
that,
flopped, personally.
Yeah, he might have made my top three if he hadn't flopped. My other good shouts are for Pochettino and, of course, Jurgen Klopp as well. Jurgen Klopp has made a massive difference at Liverpool since taking over, not just in the league, but in the Europa League as well.
Yeah, I'd go with that. I think in my top three, Ranieri. I don't think anyone can dethrone him. I think if Eddie Howe would have took Bournemouth and maybe into the top 10, then he would have dethroned Ranieri. But Ranieri top one. Second of all, I think Eddie Howe. I think what he's done for Bournemouth has been magnificent, so definitely deserves second. And third, it's a mix up between Koeman and Allardyce. I put Allardyce in front of Koeman just for a simple fact. I think a reason you haven't put Allardyce in there is because you're a West Ham fan, personally.
Well, I did say, to be fair, Allardyce has done a good job at Sunderland. I don't have a problem with Allardyce, although I do disagree with his conduct since he has left West Ham. But, I just, although he's done a good job, I do think that there's other managers that have done better than him this year.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But I feel like the way he took Sunderland out from basically secured relegation and got them to survive, and the way he sent down Newcastle on a thumping win, I think personally that gets him close. But if not, Ronald Koeman's definitely up there as well. Pochettino, I think many people are overlooking the fact that Tottenham in their last 4 games drew 2 and lost 2, and the fact Spurs fans are saying this is our best season yet, and they finished first, and Arsenal fans are calling for the head of their manager, who finished second. Who's a big club, who's not.
Yeah.
If anyone's still listening, I'm sure they get pissed off with that. But Premier League 2016, Premier League 2017 preview, any transfer rumours, and hopefully Sheffield Wednesday fucking up Hull. We're going to start off with the Championship, and the reason I said it is probably the biggest playoff final in recent years is because there is, I'd say, a little bit of a rivalry, if not a lot of a rivalry, between Sheffield Wednesday and Hull. So we're not the most, they're not on our Christmas card list, and I think it would be vice versa. And the fact of the Premier League money makes it probably the biggest playoff final ever.
Yeah. Also, the TV money is the biggest it's been for this playoff
TV
final.
money.
But I really do hope Sheffield Wednesday go up, because West Ham versus Sheffield Wednesday next year, Kurt. Me and you to the Olympic Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see Sheffield Wednesday get up there. I think they've had a very good year. Unfortunately, Hull have as well. Is Steve Bruce still the Hull manager?
Yeah.
Right, okay, Sheffield Wednesday have to get promoted, because I'm not having Steve Bruce back in the Premier League.
He's such a calm-spoken person.
He's such a knob. He's got Alex Bruce still playing, isn't he?
Alex Bruce is only in the Hull team because Steve Bruce is his dad.
Yeah, it's like that really crap kid you used to have when you're playing football and their dad's the manager. He's up front. 7. Oh. But yeah, it is a massive final. I always love the playoff final as well. Always love the playoff final.
Yeah, there's always drama in it.
Yeah.
And it's never. I can't remember the time I've seen a one-sided final, a playoff final. It's always been tight.
Yeah.
I think
That's quite true. Yeah.
Nerve-wracking when I'm down there on Saturday, but when it comes down to it, I think a lot of people are writing off Sheffield Wednesday. And they're saying, Hull have got a much better team. You look at their squad, they've got Premier League players, to which I can agree. Abel Hernandez could do a job in a Premier League team. You've got midfield, a duo of Livermore and Huddleston, arguably could do a job in a Premier League team. Then you've got the centre-backs, you've got Dawson and you've got Curtis Davis, who again, arguably, could do a job in the Premier League. But Hull did not start off this playoff, semi-finals and finals and the playoff experience as clear favourites. The clear favourites were Brighton, who every bookie had them, odds-on favourites to win. You should put money on them. Sheffield Wednesday come along, teach them a lesson, albeit there were injuries, but people forgetting we drew 1-1 away from home at their stadium, defended, hearts and, on our sleeves and bodies on the line, chucking ourselves every single chance they went through on goal. And we already went 1-0 up by the time they had to take off their 4th injury and going down to 10 men. So even without the 10 men, for the rest of the game, and the 1 goal we scored with 10 men, against 10 men, it still would have been 2-1. So we still won fair and square, and I think we're on course to score more goals against 11 men anyway. And now Hull is like, Hull are going to be definite favourites. Again, they've got, they said it about Bryson, they've got Premier League players. Same with Hull. Yet, I wouldn't be surprised if Sheffield Wednesday come on and win. They have got a very experienced squad. Our squad is very much bought this season, but I think Sheffield Wednesday definitely should not be written out like they have been by some people.
I would agree. I'm looking at the Sheffield Wednesday players now, and I think you've got a number of decent players that would do well in the Premier League as well. You look at the likes of Forestieri, Matthias. You got Gary Hooper, who I believe he's on loan anyway.
He was on loan until January, and then we signed him permanently. Okay,
well you got Gary Hooper, Leon Palmer.
Hold on, what?
Lucas Zhao.
Liam Palmer? As much as I like him, he's homegrown, by the club.
No, he's amazing. It's me, remember?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
But Lucas Zhao, he's been good. And Claude Dillner, your favourite player, don't forget him.
He's left.
No.
He has left. He left in January.
No. Don't tell me this.
That's why we didn't get automatic promotion.
Oh. This makes me sad.
Yeah, so to me.
I'm going to have to go. I'm sorry. But Sheffield Wednesday have got a good chance. You're in the final, so I don't know why you wouldn't have a chance anyway. But
lastly, to close up the argument about how people shouldn't write off Sheffield Wednesday, in both legs, first leg, we look good on the attack. Maybe a bit worrying in defence. We look good on the attack. Second, and we were, again, we chucked bodies on the line first leg. Second leg, we nearly took our chance. We'd had one chance, admittedly it was offside and it went in flukily. Had another chance without a great save from Stockdale. We would have killed off that game before half time. And we defended really admirably. In both legs we played well. Hull, on the other hand, one leg played really well against a piss poor derby performance. Second leg, played piss poor against a good derby performance. We've had the consistency, they haven't. But I'll leave it with that. Quick Premier League 2017 preview. Who do you reckon will win it?
Oh, bloody hell. Who's going to win the league?
Yeah.
Burnley.
Burnley to do Leicester.
I'm going Tottenham.
Tottenham, okay. I am sticking with who I said last season.
West Ham.
In Arsenal, I feel like they could win the league next season and probably will win the league next season because Mourinho will do shit at Man United. I feel like Conte will need time. Chelsea, you've got Klopp, who I think it could be a dark horse. Then you've got Pochettino as well. A few signings here and there could be a good Spurs team. But in the end, and Man City, I do not see Man City doing as well as Guardiola's done with his last two clubs because this isn't a one team league like his last two jobs have. But I feel like that will definitely. I think it'll be tight between the top few, but I think Arsenal and Tottenham for me are definite favourites. And who do you reckon will get relegated, excluding Hull and Sheffield Wednesday? Let's say you've got to judge it with both of them. If Hull get up, then do it that way. If Sheffield Wednesday get up, do it that way. But who do you think will go down?
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one because there's a lot of teams I feel like won't go down.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I'm actually relegating Leicester.
I knew you'd say that. I was waiting for that.
I'm relegating Leicester.
Purely for the fact that we're going to put a bet on it. I think they're like 33-1 to go down.
I know. It's not even that good odds, really, is it? Like
No.
for them to go down. But, I'm actually saying they're going to go down. Watford.
Materazzi, I think.
It's a tough one. I think Watford will go down because I think Kike Flores was a very good manager. I don't know why they let him go. And I'm going to say Crystal Palace.
I fucking hope so.
Because Crystal Palace have been pretty crap for the first half of the season, pretty crap second half of the season. They've just been on that constant sort of level of, are they going to get relegated? Are they not going to get relegated?
Yeah. I think
So, yeah.
when it comes down to it, I think Crystal Palace will go down. I think they would probably finish last. I think Pardew is a very overrated manager. As much as I do like him, I think he's overrated. Well, considering in the final he parked the bus at 0-0 from the start of the game, so just about says it all, really. And that will mean that the FA Cup curse has struck again, because you think Wigan won it, or Wigan got to the final and won it. 2013 got relegated. Then you got season after that in 2014. I've gone a mental blank. Who won it? Who got to the final?
Right, okay, so we're going to go, don't forget, there's Portsmouth, there's Wigan, and then Hull.
Hull, that was it. Hull got to the final in 2014, and they ended up getting relegated the next season. Aston Villa got to the final last season. They've been relegated this season, so I think the curse is going to continue. Palace will get relegated, because I hope so. I can't stand the club, personally. I think I think if Hull go up, I think they will survive. If Sheffield Wednesday go up, they could scrape it going up, or could just about miss out and go down. I think that'd be the same with all the relegated clubs. I think at least one will go or go back down. I think it could be Middlesbrough. I think Dyche I've learnt from his mistakes last time he took Burnley up, and I feel like this time they'll have a much better team. And the fact they've got Andre Gray, who I think is in immense form. And I think the last club,
he's very similar to Callum Wilson in a number of ways, and we've just got official confirmation of the sacking of Louis van Gaal.
Okay, we'll talk about that in just a second. And I think the more I look at it, I think I said Palace will go down. I think I said Middlesbrough or Burnley will go down. The more I look at it, I can see Watford going back down as well. I think they shouldn't have changed managers. They're a two-man team for a lot of the season. I think people are forgetting that. You look at the amount of... I think I'm going to click on them now, and we're going to have a look at the goals that they scored. And I think we're
pretty much the Deeney and Igalo show, but I can say I know they didn't play a very strong team against West Ham, but when I went to watch them at the Bowling Ground, they were fucking awful.
Yeah.
It was a crap West Ham performance followed by a pretty crap Watford performance as well.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
They just didn't have anything that was threatening for most of the game, and then they scored a lucky goal at a corner, and that was about it. So
Yeah.
I can't see anything but Watford going down next year. Uh, I just don't think they've got strength in depth. They don't have enough sort of quality in the team as you move further down the pitch.
Yeah. I think the more you look at it, you got to look at goals scored in the Premier League. Igalo has 16, Deeney has 13. Then it's down to Prodal and Ake on 2, admittedly, both from corners. And then you've got to look at the assists. Well, surely this will be different. You say no. Deeney on 9, Igalo on 6, and you got Watson on 4, Gerardo on 3, and then you got Anya, Berghuis, and Guedorda on 2. So if there's any doubt about a two-man team, I think the fact that not only goals but fucking assists as well are them two at the top just about says it all. But I'm not going to spend time talking about Watford. May as well move on timely to Manchester United. It's looking as if Mourinho is joining. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Well, after just getting the confirmation of the sacking of Louis van Gaal, thank God for that. I absolutely despise Louis van Gaal. I've hate him with a passion. Now, that's not me saying I want Man United to do well, because I couldn't care less if they did well or not, because, you know, West Ham are going to finish above them anyway. But no, I think that Mourinho is the right man for the Man U job. It would just be interesting to see how good of a manager he is, to see if he can actually change around this awful Man United squad. I think this Man United squad is worse than the so-called worst Man United squad that there's been, which was the one under David Moyes. I think this is the worst Man United squad I've ever seen. You look at it, I cannot actually think of a world-class standout player apart from David De Gea.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, you're looking at Chris Smalling as England's best centre-back and Man United's best centre-back, and Chris Smalling, although he's been very good this year, is not amazing at the back. He's not a Chiellini, which is the sort of player you would expect to be playing at the back for Man United.
Yeah, I think Martial is one to look at. You got Juan Mata if he plays centrally, although, to be honest, Juan Mata left Chelsea because Mourinho didn't like him. So Juan Mata, I don't think, will get much playing time at Manchester United either. Unfortunately, as much as he's one of their best players, Rooney midfield maybe, you got Schweinsteiger, but there's not many you could like.
Oh, I think Schweinsteiger will be gone.
I don't think he'll last too long either.
I don't think he'll stay.
No, neither do I. But Mourinho, however, I think, personally, I can't stand Mourinho. I think he needs to prove himself. If he doesn't prove himself in this job, there's been a few failed things. I know he did well at Porto, first time at Chelsea, did very well. Then you got Inter Milan, won the treble, did very well. Since then, Real Madrid fans class him as one of the worst managers ever to manage Real Madrid, having won just 2 trophies in his 4 years at the club. Then you got Chelsea. The reason he won the league in the second season was because Hazard played very well. If you take out Hazard's goals and assists in the second half of the season, then I think you get Chelsea not even in the top 4. So Mourinho didn't win it, Hazard did. And third season, Hazard didn't play well, Mourinho got sacked a few months later. Just about says it all, really. Personally, when it comes to my opinion on Mourinho. And I don't think he's got that player in Hazard at Man United. I think rumours are that Ibrahimovic is going to be assistant manager. I'm pretty sure that is a troll, but I'd love to see
that would be quite funny.
The full official. If Mourinho doesn't get his point through, goes back to the bench, all of a sudden, you just look behind you. It's Zlatan.
6'5" Zlatan Ibrahimovic standing behind you.
I mean, to be honest, if I was the fourth official and Zlatan Ibrahimovic came up to me and was like, "You got that decision wrong," I'd be right. You need referee. You need to call this decision back because I'm going to get nutted here by Zlatan. But anyway, we'll leave that as that. Differing opinions on Mourinho, I think will be interesting because I'm not too sure how we'll do. But now, finally, after just looking at the time, we've been talking for 1 hour and 22 minutes. And I want pizza. But first of all, we're going to talk about a few. I think we'll start off with a absolute confirmed one: Nordveit to West Ham on a free, as well as Tony Valencia.
Oh yeah. Well, Tony Valencia is a young 18-year-old geezer, isn't he? So, you know, you won't see him for a year or two, and you might not ever see him ever again, to be honest, based on the past 2 years where we signed youngsters, and it's like, oh, this one's promising. You don't see him ever again. But, you know, I'd like to see him do well. I think he did quite well for the development squad the other night. Nordevite has apparently got a very, 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 very hard shot. That's all I know about him.
It's going to be. I can't think. He used to play for West Ham.
Thomas Hitzelsperger.
That's it, Hitzelsperger. The new Hitzelsperger.
Hitzelsperger's back. But no, I mean, Nordevite seems to be a decent CDM, which is probably us saying, sorry, Alex Song, we're not signing you.
I think you've already confirmed that. You're not going to sign Alex Song, Emenike, and someone else, I think.
Victor
Jenkins.
Moses.
Oh, Moses, that was it. Yeah, Moses.
We're definitely not signing Jenkinson because we sent him back in January.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Because he was injured, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, Nordevite, I hope he does well, but he's not going to be no Chaco Kouyaté, let's face it.
Well, that's your opinions on that. We've got two more to talk about before I'll let you talk about any, but Xhaka to Arsenal for 30 million and Gundogan to Man City for around 20 million. Looks as if it's going to... Xhaka is pretty much confirmed. Gundogan, there are strong, hints at it, and I think that will be confirmed within a week.
Well,
your thoughts?
Out of the two, if you're asking me who's getting the better deal, by far Manchester City signing Gundogan for 20 million is a brilliant signing if that comes through. But I don't know, I don't really know much about Xhaka. All I know is that he's 82 rated on FIFA. Xhaka, he's probably a good passer of the ball by the looks of it. He looks like he's Mikel Arteta's replacement from what I can gauge. The fact that they need to replace Mikel Arteta is diabolical in the first place, seeing as I'm not a big fan of him, to be honest. But yeah, I 30 million though for Xhaka.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Fee, but I think it shows intent from Arsene Wenger, having spent a couple of quid on a cheeky Petr check, and that was it last season. And getting a nice deal on an LNE when he went to the shops again in January.
Yeah, after LNE I think he was quite a good signing.
I think considering I think he was around 5 million, I think for the amount that's spent on him could be one of I would say Arsenal's signing of the season, but it's not exactly got much competition. There was two players, including him. But one of the signings of the season, definitely for the not in intent. Look, Payet obviously did much better stats wise for the price they paid for him and how he played in his position and his role. Did pretty well.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think Xhaka, I think it shows intent from Arsenal, and Gundogan to Man City is just the first of about, say, at least 400 million spent this season to make Guardiola the team he wants, which is hardly surprising. Have you got any transfers you want to talk about before we move on to possible transfers and free contracts?
Well, I've got one more breaking news for you. Loris Karius, the Mainz goalkeeper, is currently in a medical at Liverpool.
Yeah, I've been seeing that.
Following it says a 4.7 million move. Now, I'm under the impression that this goalie has had a really, really good season. And I think he's an ex-Dortmund youngster.
Yeah.
I think he's only like 21, 22, something like that, maybe 23.
Yeah.
But he seems like a young goalie. That is something that Liverpool need. So, I don't know, if they're going to take a hint on this one, I'd go for it. But signings wise, I'm pretty sure you've got most of the ones that I mentioned earlier, haven't you?
How do you mean?
Well, the ones that when we were talking beforehand.
I've written down quite a few possible moves. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just going to go with a tweet that I've seen from Transfer News Live, which is actually quite appropriate now. So it says Jose's targets at Man United are apparently John Stones, Andre Gomes, the Portuguese centre mid, Joao Mario, no idea, Mauro Icardi, who is also apparently a target for a number of Premier League clubs, Alvaro Morata. I've heard he's going to Madrid though.
I thought he was going to Arsenal.
I've heard a lot of things about Morata. I've heard he was going to West Ham. So. And then Ezequiel Garay.
Garay's one of those ones that I think he's been linked to Premier League clubs since about 1978.
Yeah.
Every season you see Garay, and every season you see Garay, still at the same club.
Yeah, still packing him in as well, and it's just like, crying out loud.
But I think John Stones, everyone's targeting. I think he wouldn't suit Manchester United, especially. I think suppose if you got Mourinho, he's good at rumour has it that he did actually drive the bus back up with Louis van Gaal back to Manchester, and he parked it right on the 18-yard line. So that's good to see. He's starting improvements there immediately. But I think playing him next to be honest, with Van Gaal gone, I think Stones will be the direct replacement for Daley Blind, who will play anywhere but centre back. I think he's a good player, but he's not a centre back.
Well, I also reckon that Daley Blind will probably not be playing next season under Mourinho. He's not a Mourinho player.
He's not big, bulky, and likes to defend. He likes to play good balls forward, so Mourinho won't like that.
No, exactly. But, that's why I got rid of Mao.
Possible moves, I've got a few down. We've got Theo Walcott, who's been linked with a few clubs to go out of Arsenal. Where could you see him ending up or staying?
Well, what are my options?
Anywhere. I'm assuming Premier League. I assume he won't go abroad, but what club do you reckon he'd suit?
Southampton.
I think that's the same with the second player I'm going to say, which is Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's been linked elsewhere.
Yeah, also Southampton. But I reckon he could go back to his old club.
Yeah.
Go back to Southampton. Maybe Everton. He's quite similar to the likes of that geezer. What's his name? Lennon. But yeah, I wouldn't say that he's a team that I know you want me to say, and I'm not going to say it.
West Ham?
Yep. He doesn't suit us, and why would we need Walcott when we've got Mikel Antonio?
Yeah, that's a point. And you've got Lukaku.
I'd love to see him at West Ham. Absolutely love Lukaku there, but I need to be realistic and say that we're probably looking at the likes of Real Madrid, maybe Man United, maybe City, and they're the sort of teams I could see him going to. I don't think he'll go back to Chelsea, not after the way he's been treated, which is also why he probably won't go to Man United because of the man that drove him out of the club.
Well, Mourinho it was that said he couldn't link up with other players, but I think I have seen reports that there's a double deal for Lukaku and Stones for Chelsea, but I wouldn't be surprised if I see him go back to Chelsea because I think it was Mourinho's decision to get him out of the club and not the club's.
Yeah. Well, Mourinho said that he wasn't good enough, and well.
Well, I think you go right with your Falcao and your Alexandre Pato and your Remy's, Mr. Mourinho, but I think Lukaku's much better than anything you've had in recent years, apart from Diego Costa.
Loic Remy to United.
Loic Remy to United. Radamel Falcao back on loan to United. But then we've got Handanovic to Chelsea, possibly.
Really good keeper, Handanovic, but why do you need him when you got Courtois? I know that Courtois is suspected to be wanting to leave, or they don't think he's good enough, or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
But while you've still got Courtois, you don't need Handanovic.
I'd say that. I've seen. I'd say I don't see. I think he's just in preparation if Courtois leaves. But even then, Begovic is a pretty good keeper anyway. Then we've got Goetze, who seems to be pretty hell-bent on going to Liverpool and linking up once again with Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, I could see it happening. I mean, he's on the fringes of the Bayern team. If they can get 26, 30 odd million for him, they'll probably take it, seeing as he's not really achieved anything.
He isn't really a first-team player. And last possible move I've got is Benatia to maybe Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good centre-back, and it is a position that they're in need of. He's probably not a starter for Bayern anymore, especially with Hummels coming in.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Alaba sitting in there. You got too much competition.
I can't see why they wouldn't. Don't forget about Martinez as well.
Oh, yeah, Jeff Martinez as well. Yeah, forgot about him.
But so I couldn't see why he couldn't. And is that your last transfer? Because I've got one.
Oh no, I was going to leave a few to you. Yeah.
Okay, so Ronaldo to West Ham.
For fuck's sake.
Lacazette to West Ham has been, and Michy Batshuayi, of course.
Not worth it when it comes to Lacazette. Too much money been spent on him. If you spend more than 30 million.
Nope. I will take. If we pay 33 million for him, which is their asking price, I would take that for sure.
I suppose he is a goal scorer and you need that.
I mean, he is a natural goal scorer, and in the last 2 seasons in Liga 1 he has scored. Well, he's been second top goal scorer to Zlatan, so basically top goal scorer in the league each year. But, you know, I'd like to see Lacazette there. I don't agree with the fees that are being said for Michy Batshuayi. However much he may be a Football Manager legend, I don't think that one good season warrants a 30 million buyout. Or I don't think it's even a clause. I think they just want 30 million for him. I don't think he's worth it. I could be wrong. He could be the best striker in the world one day, but
Yeah.
you know.
I think talking about strikers, I'll move on to a couple of people who could be on free transfers. I think some of them are confirmed, some of them are not. Starting off with strikers, Ibra. Where do you think you can?
West Ham.
Pretty much. West Ham. Surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he did go there, but a lot of Premier League clubs have been linked with him. I think he's got to go somewhere in the Premier League because he's done everything elsewhere apart from Bundesliga, really.
Yeah, and he's going to get more money in the Premier League anyway.
Yeah,
So.
with the new TV money, he's coming at the right time.
Yeah, perfect time for Zlatan to leave PSG.
But honestly, it could be anyone. Next up, bit of a stranger. I didn't realise he was leaving on a free transfer. I thought he was quite good, quite high rated as well on transfermarks.com. But Feghouli has not been offered a new contract.
Feghouli,
and he could be leaving.
I did hear that as well, actually.
It's a lot of rumours linked with Spanish clubs, but I think if a Premier League club could nick him, I think it's a pretty good free transfer.
I think you're looking at Liverpool.
Yeah,
I could see him
maybe.
in a Liverpool shirt, to be honest.
Yeah, I think another one I'd say if Arsenal are going to get rid of Walcott and Chamberlain, I think Feghouli could be a good replacement there.
Yeah, well, there's another interesting one in the free transfer things, which I'm guessing you may have, but Hatem Ben Arfa.
He was next on the list.
Yeah. Because he's had a very, very, very good season.
And to think it was only not long ago that
He's too fat to play football, wasn't
Newcastle didn't want him, too fat to play football, couldn't play, joined Hull in the season they got relegated, and he wasn't good enough to play for Hull. But yet, you know, I'm not gonna judge Steve Bruce on that, but he makes good decisions on players. That not being one of them.
Alex Bruce?
Alex Bruce is. If Steve Bruce had a choice between getting one contract, you can either sign Messi or Alex Bruce. And he's like, he's got to stay loyal to my players, so Alex Bruce is signing a new contract. Messi, go elsewhere, lad.
Free transfer to Stoke. Completing Stoke Alona.
Oh, God.
But yeah, you know, Hatem Ben Arfa, I don't know where I could see him, to be honest.
Reports are Barcelona, I think, is the main one.
Really?
I've seen Barcelona chucked around a lot.
Yeah, I've seen pigs fly as well recently. So. I've heard like Payet to Barcelona and Real Madrid. I'm just sitting there like, right, whatever.
Vardy parties going abroad. But next one on my list, another French player not getting a new contract is Steve Mandanda.
I'd love to see him at West Ham. I really rate Steve Mandanda.
I think he's pretty good as well. I think the fact he hasn't got a new contract yet is a bit surprising, but Marseille have had a torrid time of things recently, so...
I was going to say, is it that they can't get him a new contract, or he's not signing a new contract?
I think it's probably he's not signing a new contract.
Because Marseille are not the best team in France anymore, it's got to be said. And I know that Michy Batshuayi has said that he wants to leave in the summer.
Yeah.
So I reckon that, you know, if Mandanda's leaving as well, they could struggle, not to, you know, field a team, but, you know, they could struggle to hold on to their good players. I think this has all started when Payet left. And it's like the Premier League money's just swaying all these players.
If there's a place I could see Liverpool, I've given it away. Mandanda's Liverpool, there we go. I think because you got Mignolet.
If they sign this German goalie, though.
Yeah, but I see him as an understudy. If Mignolet gets played and if Mandanda is available, I think if they sign him, because he's not old, he's not too young, Mandanda anymore. He's quite old, so sign the young goalkeeper from Germany, maybe a season or two under Mandanda to learn a bit from him, get a bit of experience. Then when he hits 23, 24, he'll be a keeper for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Goes right.
So Mandanda, join West Ham, mate.
You can train up Darren Randolph. That's what you can do. The next one, I've got Michael Carrick. Probably leaving on a free transfer unless Mourinho wants him.
I doubt it. West Brom.
West Brom join Darren Fletcher.
Darren Fletcher and Carrick reunited again.
Mind you, that's two good players that are good at passing, and Pulis doesn't like that, so I doubt that would happen, actually.
I can see him at Everton.
Yeah, I think that being a replacement for Gareth Barry.
What do you mean a replacement? They're going to play together in the midfield.
The pace.
Quickest midfield in the
Pace.
world.
But we've got Carrick. Next one is quite an interesting one, I think, is Martin Caceres of Juventus, still without a new contract.
It's a bit of a weird one, Caceres, really, because, he's not a starter, for sure, in Juventus. And, I can't really see him in other teams. I don't actually know what his best position is anymore. Is it centre-back or is it right-back?
Yeah, he's played all around defence. I think he's played left back for his international team.
Yeah. So, if he's world class, he can come and join us, but I don't think he is. So, he's no James Tompkins or James Collins. That's what I was meant to say.
Wow.
He's no James Collins. I can't actually think of a team where he would go and play. Is he friends with Conte? Because if he is, he'll be at Chelsea.
So I've put him in a good position to join Chelsea because Chelsea needs centre backs. John Terry's ageing. Gary Cahill's not getting very good at football anymore. And Kurt Zouma, I think he's probably going to start playing next season back again, hopefully from his injury. But I don't know. I think it would probably be somewhere in Italy. But worth noting that if he does go on a free transfer, it's a good player to grab for any Premier League club, really. And lastly, the interesting free contracts. Gregory Van der Wiel.
West Ham. He's going West Ham.
Another West Ham signing, is that?
Yep.
So that's.
I think all of them are signed so far.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think everyone bar Carrick has been West Ham. And Cassius, actually.
I said, if he's world class, he can join us.
That's pretty much everything I've got to talk about done. Unless you've got anything you want to mention. You'll be starting content next season. for 2 weeks.
I'm going to be Everton manager. Got to start next season.
Still doing Fantasy Premier League previews
They need me.
and reviews.
They need me.
You'll be doing it on the touchline.
Yeah.
Your team's losing 3-2. I just need to finish this video. Let me... give me a second.
What about Mahrez? Do you reckon he'll leave?
I think Vardy has... I think a lot of people are saying Vardy will leave, Mahrez will leave. I think Vardy has come out in an interview recently and said, why would anyone leave? Because the squad at home, as a whole acts like brothers. So I think that pretty much secures Vardy is not leaving anyway, no matter how many bids West Ham put in, because I'm seeing quite a few apparently, if rumours are true. Yeah. I think same with Mahrez. I think a few players will leave. I think maybe a few fringe players, maybe players who won't get into the first team but join other Premier League clubs or clubs abroad. But you've just won the league. Stay with Leicester, see how it goes.
And and enjoy the Championship in the year after.
Yeah, exactly. And get him back up, become a club legend.
I think the main thing for Leicester is they're not willing to pay the wages that these players are asking for.
Yeah, that's the point.
Like, I know that apparently Jamie Vardy is not getting his 125 grand a week contract he wants.
Like, Jesus Christ, you only just come out of Steelworks factory, mate. Calm down a bit.
I can see Mahrez leaving, going to like Spain, flopping, coming back to the Premier League for Watford in a few years' time, being awful.
Watford.
And it'll be, what happened to Riyad Mahrez? That'll be the headline.
Yeah, where are they now? Leicester City squad of champions.
Yeah, Jamie Vardy's back in League 2 with Fleetwood. 35-year-old striker.
We're back at the Steelworks factory.
Still
earning £125 a month. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that wraps anything up, unless you've got anything else you want to mention apart from Mahrez.
No. I think that's about it, really.
Covered about everything. Don't know whether this will be a thing next season, but Jesus Christ, it's been here 1 hour and 42 minutes.
See, this is what happens when we don't do it for ages.
There's so much to talk about. If we would have done this before, we could have a Premier League review done.
I was going to say, I mean,
England
you
squad reaction
could sort of like, split it up.
I think I might
videos.
after the Euro stuff. Yeah. Because it splits up about 45 minutes here, an hour there. But that being said, thank you all for watching. Don't know whether this will be a thing next season, but maybe try and get a few different people on as much as...
thanks.
with Joe.
Been sacked. Correct.
You've got Vanguard, that's what it is.
With
breaking news. Palmer
Louis Van Gaal's army.
Louis Van Gaal's army. But anyway, next season there'll be a lot of changes. I think Joe might start doing content again, but I doubt it will continue. I'm not gonna.
Who knows? Got a lot on my plate.
But thank you all for watching or listening to whatever I've put up, whether it's a huge part or just separate parts, part 1 and part 2. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed. Any last words, Joe?
Stay in school.
Stay in school and peace.
See ya.
Stay in fucking school.
Stay in school, kids and adults alike.
Oh, wow. Oh, no wonder. I think Adam Johnson listened to this and you said this before.
Probably. I
I was
wouldn't put
only
it past
listening
him.
to life advice, like.